Hey y'all, it's your host Ferrari. What it do? 1 plus 1 equals 2 plus 1 equals you. And welcome back to Fumble the Faith. Throw a flag on the play and call the referee. Yeah, that's right. We on season 3. Y'all know we gonna fumble the faith together. Come on and let's get up and prepare for God to refill our cup. Never forget, we are always praying for you. So please pray for us. Deuteronomy 31:8. We switched to play, but still strong and courageous. Let's get into it. Hey guys, how's it going? Back with another pod. So this specific pod is going to be with my babies that are not babies. This is Bobby. He's 15. And Morgan in the back. She's 16. And I just thought it would be really cool to hear what it's like navigating the world and a relationship with God, but your friends and your parents, siblings, hearing it from a perspective that I haven't been in a while. I know what I was doing when I was their age, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. And I think I've said it on the pod before. At 17, I remember being called by God while I was in church. Like I was in teens church. And God called me and I was like, yeah, right. I want to live my life. I'm going to go to college. Like, there's no way. I'm not even sure what you would have me do. I don't want to look crazy. So I definitely understand both sides of it. But I would like to hear from my babies as well. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, you can. If you want to just jump right into it, we can as well.
My name is Bobby. I'm 15. I go to Panther Creek High School, and I run track for their track team.
Anyways, I'm Morgan. She already told you about me. I'm 16. I'm a junior in high school, so yeah.
So something I want to know first is, what is it like navigating your everyday life and having questions about the world, but also questions about God?
Morgan, you can go first.
Of course I can. But just like navigating everyday life, like as a Christian, I would say it is a little bit harder. And the fact that just like people are very judgmental, and I know sometimes I can act like out of character from what people think like stereotypical Christian girl. um and so it's just like, I wouldn't say it's hard, it's more or less like difficult though, and like suffering like judgment and all of that. And people always say like, well, nobody cares what you're gonna do, like nobody cares what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, but somebody's always watching and somebody is always going to be judgmental. So that's like one of the only things about it. It's just like being judged for like how people perceive you before they even meet you, type thing. Bobby?
So me personally, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really do a good job at trying to navigate both lives. In school, I I do sometimes feel the guilt of when I do things that I know I'm not supposed to be doing when I'm in school, and like when I know like how would God feel about this. But at the same time, you know, even when I do try, it is very hard because like things that go through my mind are like, for me, like what are my friends gonna think about me? Like I get my friends are Christians, but like they Christians like how my mom has raised me to be a Christian. Like they're not in church like that. So, it's like those are just like some things that go through my head. It's also about how I will look in general, not just with my friends, but with everybody else. And it's just like, because the thing is with your friends, if they were my real friends, they wouldn't care about how I decide to live my life. If I decide to be a full follower of Christ, or if I decide to just live of the world, right? But like the thought of other people, that goes to my mind too. And the fact that I'm on a track team, So, like when I'm at practice and stuff, I'll be honest, I don't really do a good job at navigating my life and like both of my lives like that there either. So, that's just.
Okay. So number one, I do want to remind you, like, I definitely understand what you mean when you say you feel guilty, but Jesus Christ paid for your sins. So there should be no guilt. It should be complete repentance. But also repenting is completely turning away. So that's when you cry out and you ask God to help you deny your flesh and things like that. Like, I know that it is, super hard, but that's also why you have a mom and dad, but also why you have God, because he's your father as well. So there's going to always be times where it's tough to navigate. We're going to always be in places where it's super tough to navigate. Um, the balance or being a Christian in, different scenarios, but at the same time, like having that support. I definitely think, leaning into that as a teenager is a really great idea. Making sure that your kids know that they have that support system is also a great, because some kids will just assume, from relationship or the way things are ran in the household when it comes to following rules and things like that, that there's no support when it comes to those things. And I try not to chastise you guys. I try to allow you to say what you need to say and feel what you need to feel. It's validated because you feel it. But in a world where there's so much pressure to do what everyone else is doing, how do you stay true to yourself, or how do you stay um, like above the crowd and not keeping up with the Joneses?
Oh, what's that supposed to mean? Can you like reiterate
Like
that
doing what
question?
everybody else is doing, wanting what everybody else wants, having what everybody else is having, that kind of thing.
Like, how do I keep up with it?
How do you keep yourself from being caught up in that? Like, how do you keep yourself from like being different from the, like, going against the grain? How do you keep, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, well, sometimes I am going to say this, but like, you will fall short. And I have definitely fallen short of that. Like, and just trying to, like, not, like, compare yourself to others and, like, what they want or have. Like, because you can't have what everybody else has. And God has stuff different for you that He has for somebody else. And so it's just, like, trying to, like, not put God in a box, and just knowing that what He has for you in the future is gonna be great no matter like what it is, and it'll be all that you need. Like, that's what I kind of like have to keep telling myself, to remember to just stay out of like the drama, stay out of like that spirit of like envy that people tend to get. Like, I have been very envious of certain people, and so it's just like, why did she have that and I don't? Like, it's just like, well, she's acts like this and she has this, and I'm just like, I can't act like that, and I can't do that because that's not what God has for me, or don't have that because that's not what God has for me. So I just have to keep telling myself that God will provide for my needs and wants in due time.
A way that I, stop myself from trying to keep up with the crowd and stuff like that is I think about who like I am as a person. Like, my mom has said this to me before, and like, I've read the verse and it says that two-sided people are untrustworthy. It says that in the Bible. So, the day that I learned that, it's every way I act two-sided, every time I act two-sided, I always think like, like, who am I? So ever since that day, like, it's just, I'm not really a two-sided person. So when I think about who I really am, it's like, would I really do that? Like, or am I just doing it because like my friends are doing it, or am I just doing it to look this way, or look this way? Because, me personally, I think I'm fine the way I am. I don't really like like of course, I fall short of it, but I don't really have a big problem with trying to keep up with the crowd. Like it's like I don't know. I just think about like who I really am, like what I like if I were to go. It's like thinking about your morals, right? It's like if you were to go against your morals, how would you feel afterwards, right? And if it goes against what I like with who I am, then I'll think about who like what I'm gonna feel like after I do whatever. So it's just that's like something that I do. I just think about like who I really am.
That's good. Um, so being in the grades that you're in now, and when you think about dating and wanting to be in a relationship with someone, how do you think that affects, or your relationship with God affects what you think about dating now as teenagers and high schoolers?
You want me to go first, Morgan?
Yeah.
All right. So with me, I always when I start to talk to a girl, I always like sometimes I do feel like I think like how is this different from my friends than versus if I'm talking to this girl. I always tell the girl like I'm a big Christian. I go to church every Sunday. Like so if you feel that like you think my religion, my relationship with Christ is going to get in the way of our relationship, then we could go ahead and end it here, right? But I'll have to remember, like I like to think like for me like when I'm like in a relationship, if what I'm doing is like going against what God calls us to do or what He tells us to do, like is it like doing like is it me doing what I want to do, or is it me like I'll say like standing on business, like not just not doing what I know I would do, like doing the right thing. Like if a girl were to come on to me, if I'm hanging out with a girl and she were to come on to me, right? And I already know how my mom will feel about that, and I know how I will feel about that. Like, well, I do that as a person, like it's like I always, for me, it's just I'll tell them like, nah, I'm good, like I'm straight. Like I don't really do all that. I don't be getting down like that for real. So it's just like that's just something I think about. It's just like what like it's the same thing like how I said about like trying to keep up with the crowd. It's like even though all my friends is doing it, that doesn't mean I have to do it. Like I said, I do fall short of it a lot of the times, but then again, you also have to think of the outcome. Like you getting with a girl and doing what you want to do could end up into a teen pregnancy, right? And already know how my mom will feel about that. I know how I will feel about that in general. So it's I think about that. Like it's just I think about the outcome of it, of my actions in a relationship. Like would God, be disappointed in me if I were to do this, or like how would my mom feel? Would my mom be disappointed in me, and like how would I feel afterwards? Would I feel good about it, or would I feel guilty about it? So yeah, that's something I think about.
I do want to like help you with a little bit of wordplay. It's not a religion; it's a relationship. In a relationship, um, and just in case you guys didn't hear me, it's not a religion; it's a relationship. And in a relationship, it's a bit different because there aren't rules to follow in a relationship. Just like there aren't rules to follow in having a relationship with God. When the Pharisees asked Jesus Christ what the two most important laws were, he literally said, put no other God before God and love others as you love yourself. And that's it. Like, if you are capable of showing enough love to people, then you are capable of having a good relationship with God. It's about your integrity, it's about your morals, and it's about your character. Behind the scenes, are you cussing people out, acting a fool, doing all the things that you shouldn't do, and then in front of people, you're this button up, you know, perfect straight A student type of teen? Or are you that same loving, caring person no matter where you are? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. I want to just make sure to always remind you guys of that. Like, it's not a religion. In religion, there's rules to follow. You can't break them. You're chastised by people, not by God. That's not what this is. It's a relationship in the same way that you would love another person, like what we have in our parenthood to childhood. Like, it's a relationship that we have. And would you, you know, do anything to purposely harm me in this relationship? Absolutely not. Now, do mistakes happen? Of course. But I don't think we go into everyday life like, oh, today I'm gonna mess my mama brain up and do what she won't want me to do. You know what I mean? And it's the same, like just like you said, when you get into a relationship or when you start to like a girl, it's the same way. Is God pleased with my actions? That's it. It's not about rules. So and regulations. It's about being real. You know what I mean? So I like to help with the wordplay. I've been learning that a lot over this past year, that it's definitely about a specific type of script and scribe that you speak to when and it helps you to live better in your relationship with God. But Morgan, what do you think, like, when it comes to your relationship with God and not your relationship with the church? You know what I mean? Yes, church is a thing, but going every Sunday is not going to. Oh, you know what? You get to the pearly gates and they like, oh, you on April 13th, y'all missed service, so you out of here. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like that. But like, how does your relationship with God help you to navigate dating as a teen?
Like, low key, I'm being so for right now. I don't want to date right now. Like, I do like want a relationship, but I know, one, I'm not ready for that right now, and two, I low key just don't have time for that. But still, even in that, like, if I do like a guy, I'm going to pray about it. Like, I'm going to pray about it because I'm going to ask him to remove me from my life. If you're going to be a person that's going to bring me away from him or just like kill the mood, kill the vibes, like, I I want a person that will like match my energy, like, and we can grow like closer to God together, and it'll be a relationship that pleases him and can show people what God's love is actually like.
Yeah.
And so, just like with that, if I were to date a guy, I'm gonna pray about it. And if God removes you from my life, it's clear that you shouldn't be there. I do ask him for signs with that. Like, even the smallest, minusculous little things. Like, God, show me this color car. Like, if, like, okay, say I want it, like, if he likes me, God, show me a green car if he likes me. Boom. If I see a green car, I may be a little delulu. Maybe it's just chance. But I prayed about that. So it is what it is at the end of the day. Like, but if I know, like, that one, a relationship is going to mess up the relationship that we have now, I'm not going to do it. If I know, like if I've talked to you and we're friends and I just know your mannerisms and how you act, like, in a relationship, like if I've seen you in a relationship before and saw how you acted in that relationship, that's going to be my impression of how you're going to be in your next one. So it's like, can I trust that you will, one, bring me closer to God in our relationship, and two, not switch up on me once we're in the relationship. So that's just like, that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, how to like word it.
No, I definitely get it, and I love the maturity behind, like, I would pray about it first. Um, I will say, when it comes to prayer, you definitely still have to allow yourself time to hear from God. Um, but how he chooses to speak to you is how he chooses to speak to you. I also like to just put that in the atmosphere, because there's oftentimes where I've heard from God, and there's people in my life who will be like, well, what do he sound like? And I'm like, well, he don't sound like Mufasa from the Lion King. Like, it ain't like Ferrari, my daughter. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like that. It's, but I will say that being in a place where you fully trust God to lead you, or just like Bobby said, is my actions with this girl going to please God? Like, that's something that most teens aren't even thinking about, right? So, next question, and then I after this one, I just have one more. How is it navigating social media as, you know, teenagers, but then also having a relationship with God? Like, what is it like watching the things that you watch? Do you also ask that question, like, is God pleased with what I'm watching?
Or you can go first with this one. I gotta think about my answer.
Alright. Well, one, I'm gonna just throw this out here. I do tend to doom scroll a lot. Like, it's once you get on, it's so hard to get off and just like refocus yourself. So that I feel like is a problem in itself that I need to pray about. But anyways, but just like being like in a relationship with God and being on social media, it's like you get to see a lot of different perspectives from people, and it's just like sometimes we need to take your phone away. That's what I just be thinking sometimes when I see some of these people's videos. Like, you don't need your phone right now. I'm gonna need you to go sit down somewhere. But like being on social media, it's like you well, yeah, you get to see a whole bunch of different perspectives of different people. And it's just like I want to see people that are, one, going to educate me, two, like it's gonna be in my interest, and three, are gonna bring me to God. So those are like the only types of people that I like to follow. But when I first got my social media, I would just follow anybody willy nilly and just be like, oh, I like their this video, and I'm just gonna follow them because maybe all of their videos are like this. And I would come back, and I'm following 1,000 people at this point, and I would come back to a video, and I'm like, when did I follow this person? Because I their ideals do not match with mine, because I didn't used to think like about that. Now it's just like, yeah, I shouldn't be following this person, or like I don't need to be following this person right now. And so it's just like, when did I start like liking videos like this? Like, where did this person come from? Like, why is this on my For You page? And then I would just like look, and I'm just like, a lot of their videos are like this particular one that I don't like. Like, I shouldn't be following this person. And so it's just like going through like your social media and actually like seeing if it will bring you closer to God, and if it's actually showing you things that you should be seeing as a Christian, or keeping you away from things that you don't want to see as a Christian. And it's just like, just watching what goes into your eyes and ears, because what's in your heart starts to become your practices. So if you're listening to Sexy Ray and cussing and fussing all day, that's what's in your heart, and it's going to start showing like in your character. So that's just a thing in itself.
Sometimes when it comes down to like social media, like, do you include music in this?
Yeah,
Stuff
sure,
like
you
that?
can include music.
Like, sometimes when it comes down to social media and things that I watch and like stuff that I listen to, I don't really ever have the thought in my mind about will God be pleased with what I'm watching? Because like, number one, I always like I don't know why, but I tend to see it as like, if I'm not really doing the action, if I'm not doing this, right? Because like think about like this,
Like,
is
if it's not hurting anybody.
yeah, if it's not hurting anybody else and it's not hurting me, then like what's the problem with it? Like, and like when it comes down to music, a lot of the music I listen to, I don't really listen to a lot of gospel. I mean, I do sometimes, and not a lot of the times though. A lot of the times I do just listen to really anything, but it's like, I always like think like, it's not if it's not hurting me, if it's not hurting anybody else, and if I'm not doing whatever like they're talking about doing in the song or whatever, and I'm not like living this life, then it doesn't really affect me. So I don't really ever have that question or thought.
So when you say that, like, it's not really affecting you, but like the things that you put in front of your eyes, ultimately become embedded in your mind, and what you constantly think about also becomes embedded in your heart, and your actions flow out of that. So do you think that watching or listening to certain things for long periods of time will cause you to want to behave this way or want to be who these people are?
Um, you know, Like, nah, not really. Like some things, like I feel like some things, but like this isn't really a bad thing. It's like with basketball. Like I wasn't really obsessed with basketball until I started watching a lot of stuff, like basketball things. Then I became obsessed with it, right? And it was the same way with track. Like when I tried out for the track team, I made it. I didn't really know the sport like that. I wasn't really interested in it. But like after I started watching more videos about it and stuff, I find track, like I find it fun. So I feel like with things like that, or like with like a lot of other things and like music and stuff, like things that they say in the music, I don't really ever, I don't really ever get like the thought or the urge to act the way they do.
All right, so this is my last question. What would you guys say to teenagers who are struggling with wanting to have a relationship with God, but having the peer pressures of the world? So, like, to give another teen advice as to what they should do if they are having that struggle.
Or Morgan, you go first.
Of course I can. Um, it's just like surround yourself with people that will uplift you in what you choose to do. Because your circle really does matter. Like, if you're friends with people that gossip about everybody, they're going to turn around and talk about you. And they may not always be the best people to go to for advice or telling them like what's going on and them being up in your business because they're judging you already.
Mm-hmm.
So if your inner circle is judging you, you're going to feel even worse in trying to actually like stand firm in your faith and try and do better, because that's something I definitely struggled with, like just opening up about my religion and saying, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I would just say it willy-nilly and then not be able to actually back up that statement with anything that like God has shown me. And so it's just like actually like being in your word, praying, and surrounding yourself with people that are actually going to help you grow in your relationship with Christ, and like people who have, I want to say like the same, but definitely like similar ideologies to you.
Right.
Because if you're around fools, you're going to be a fool. Like, that's all I can say. If you're around smart people, you'll start to pick up their mannerisms. So it's just the people that you're around that really contribute to how you act as a person, for
Bobby?
Uh, I'm gonna be like totally honest. Like, there's not really a lot of advice that I can really give, besides like what Morgan said. Like, just surround yourself with people that like will uplift you and what you want to do and your beliefs and your morals, and they won't try to change them. Because like like you can't really. It's not a lot of advice that I can give because I'm not really living the life that I'm supposed to be living, right? So, but like I guess I'll agree. I'm gonna agree with Morgan. Like just surround yourself with people like that.
All right. Well, you have heard it here. It is not easy being a teen, navigating a relationship with God, and navigating the world. So I thank you guys for being so transparent. As always on Fumble to Faith, we love you. We cannot wait to see you again. Thank you so much for listening. I'm always praying for you. Bye.